My name's James Redfern. I'm a academic from Manchester Met University, and I'm a microbiologist. I'm predominantly interested in antimicrobial materials, but also method development and efforts towards standardization and kind of regulatory decision making. So I'll introduce other members of the team as we go, but I lead this project with Dimitrios from Queen's Belfast, who's also on the call, and Joe Flint, who helps run, basically does the hard work running the project for us, the project manager. We are called BEST, BioEffective Surfaces for Transport. As I say, we are an EPSRC funded network. We want to try and affect change in the UK specifically. So we are funded by a UK research organisation, and we are here to promote UK companies and industry and academic researchers to promote bioeffective surfaces for transport in the broadest possible sense. So as we go through these slides, I'll kind of explain our rationale and what we're trying to achieve, but really this network is to be guided by everybody. Okay, so if there's a particular part of antimicrobial materials, bioeffective surfaces, transport as a whole, or a specific part of transport, mass transport, public transport, trains, buses, aircraft, whatever that might be, we're open to having those conversations and trying to develop the network to support people as much as possible. So the rationale for kind of how we got here is that during COVID, I guess, is a really good example where it was really apparent that microorganisms can cause huge impact to transport systems. Of course, they can cause huge impact to lots of other aspects of life, work, social activities, but predominantly transport was something that was really highlighted as a problem, whether that be people traveling on planes or trains or buses or any of those different modes of transport. The fact that we had a virus that caused severe illness and disease really provided many, many challenges that I think people hadn't really prepared for beforehand. So with that in mind, but not necessarily specifically thinking about COVID, a group started to think about how we might be able to join the dots of microbiology, of coatings engineering, of surface engineering, of transport sector, of people who design transport, like trains and buses and so on, but then also the policymakers, the people making the decision in the background, and how we could bring all these people together to really try to understand the problem and maybe put in place some potential solutions, or start the process of putting in place potential solutions. So if such a thing happens again, we'd be better prepared for. As you can see the points on the slide there. So we know these pathogens are problematic and they are bacteria, fungi, viruses. For us, we are not specifically focusing on any one in particular. And the key is that they can passively move around. So they might settle on surfaces. People can touch and move things around an environment. You can draw, obviously people coughing and droplet deposition and all those different mechanisms of spreading bacteria, viruses and fungi around cause lots of different complicated challenges when you're thinking about these environments. And SARS-CoV-2, otherwise known as COVID, was the real kind of thing that started this conversation. So one solution to that is to use surfaces that might be able to be antimicrobial. They might have antimicrobial properties that can kill microorganisms kind of wherever they are placed. So that might be a handrail, it might be a frequently touched surface like a doorbell or a door handle or something like that. But if you have effectively, if you have a material that is innately antimicrobial or in some way encourages hygienic practice, then that's a benefit in those types of environments. And what we really want to do is try to understand kind of what the challenges are around making the most of these types of materials, and how we can best support anybody, academics, researchers, industry, policymakers, whoever, in implementing these types of tools. So how do we make antimicrobial surfaces and transport a reality? So we started thinking about some of the challenges. And again, these are the things that we're really interested to hear from colleagues, people who are kind of on the ground with this stuff. So we have microbiological challenges, we have engineering challenges, We have the kind of actual implementation of these things, so transport manufacturers, the transport sector, end users, providers, regulators, local national government, I guess to some degree international government if you're talking about aircraft. Um, Social sciences is obviously also really important, how people perceive different types of materials and interventions and what that can do to support people feeling safe in these systems. And then obviously funding is always a challenge with any sort of R&D project. And that's, again, we are funded by EPSRC, but we don't have access immediately to research funds, but we can help facilitate that through EPSRC and support people writing proposals into EPSRC from the back of, and other funding bodies through the back of this network. So really the aim of what we're trying to do is to establish a multidisciplinary and collaborative community of researchers, people in industry, regulators, key decision makers, that can contribute to the manufacture, design, testing, and deployment of antimicrobial materials for transport, strengthening hygienic strategy with effective evidence-based antimicrobial treatments and materials. So it is a really broad basis. We are, and that's on purpose. So we have really gone in broad with the idea that we really want to be driven by people who are keen and are interested in promoting their particular aspect of work in this environment, or if they don't necessarily have a solution but certainly have a problem, we equally want to hear from those people, and we can help make connections, and we can help bring those things together. So in terms of what we're going to try and achieve in the next 2.5, 3 years, we've got 6 objectives. And you can see them here. So effectively, the first thing we want to do is build our network, and that starts today. And thank you for those of you who have already registered and engaged. We are looking to continue getting as many people involved as we can, and we're really keen to get your input on that. So people you might know in other industries or other connections you have, we're really keen to have that shared. Really, we need to create this evidence base of why these things are important, and kind of what the rationale is. So if someone's going to spend money on something like an antimicrobial material, why is that useful for them, but also what evidence is there that they work? How do we demonstrate efficacy in those types of environments? And what are the outputs from that? So we really want to bring that kind of evidence base together. And then that rolls into the third objective, which is then involve and engage the kind of key decision makers in antimicrobial or bioeffective surfaces, in whichever transport sector it is that we're interested in. Then objective 4 really is kind of about the science, I guess, or the engineering that has to happen to make these things a reality, of which there's lots of great things happening already in academia and in industry. And as I say, this is a platform to be able to join the dots and make it a bit easier to translate that research into reality, and kind of get partnerships together that might not have happened otherwise. We're really keen to develop position statements and editorials and position papers and all this type of stuff, guidance documents, anything that can help that evidence base. And again, we'll be really keen to hear from people who would like to contribute to that, and effectively kind of be a good set of collaborators, and really just enable that networking. So it was really highlighted that there wasn't a place for people to go to talk about these problems, to kind of raise the challenges of antimicrobial materials, in particular for transport. So that's what we're trying to achieve. This is roughly how we see that playing out. So in the first year, which is where we are now, we really want to get into the challenges. So what are the problems? What are the things that industry would like? What are the things that academia would like? How can we really identify the opportunities, I guess, that people have? Then moving into the second year, So what are the potential solutions? How can we make them a reality? And that's kind of where we would like to be by the end of the network. So we'll have gone through the kind of evidence base, we'll have ideas of what we would like to do, and then really by the end of the network, we would like people to be in a position where they are really making strides in this work. If they've got new partnerships or new projects or whatever that might be. And you can see the other themes of kind of collaboration and building that evidence base really cut across the 3 years of the project. So back to the team. So yeah, as I say, my name is James Redfern. I'm from Manchester Met University in the UK. I'm a microbiologist, and I'm really interested in antimicrobial surfaces and coatings, and trying to understand, I guess, in principle, how we make that a reality and how we test efficacy in real world settings. So what's the difference between a lab test and making sure that if you were to put that in a scenario that would work? Demetrios, would you like to just introduce yourself if you've got your microphone handy?
Yes. Thanks, James, and welcome everyone to this very excited new BEST network, as we call it, from EPSRC. My name is Dimitrios Lambrou. I'm a professor at Queen's University Belfast. I'm the chair of biofabrication and advanced manufacturing here, and working with a lot of different emerging technologies, and hopefully we can use some of those technologies also towards the BEST network for the antimicrobial coatings and resistance that we're looking on that. So welcome everyone.
Thank you. And Joe, would you like to say hello?
Sure. Hi, everybody. So my name is Jo Flint. So I'm the project officer on the BEST network, with a background in project management in the financial and charity and now higher education sectors. So it's my role to coordinate the network and do all the admin and legwork that goes with that, and the communication, and also sort of design and the social media as well.
All the important stuff, I think, is to sum up. So thank you guys. So we are also underpinned by an initial set of members that came from the original discussions, and these people have formed our steering group. So we have members from other academic institutions and other industry partners as well. And we, over the next year, will be looking to kind of grow that steering group, but also bring some early career researchers in as well. So that's really key for us, is that we would really like some early career researchers from academia or industry to get involved and help shaping this network. So just as a quick call out, if you are an early career researcher or you know of any, do get in touch. We'd be keen to hear from them. So in terms of what we plan to do, as I say, we hope to be guided by membership, so that's really important, and we are going to be reactive to people's needs, and kind of help support as we go along. But these are the things that we initially planned to do and have in our sights for the next couple of years. So at least once a year, we hope to have in-person workshops or kind of seminar days or some sort of event where we can get people together, and physically talk about these problems and these challenges. The first of which will be probably early autumn this year, so late summer, early autumn, probably September time, and it's likely to be at Manchester Met. So keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, we've got lots of ideas on how to get people together and get people talking either online or in smaller in-person kind of working groups or kind of industry forum meetings. So academics like myself, yeah, great. Got lots of ideas, lots of things that we can talk about. But really, as I say, what we're really interested in is hearing from the transport sector, and those in industry who may have a challenge that they need a potential solution for, or a potential solution to these challenges, and just need a little bit of assistance or some guidance on how to kind of open doors to make that a reality. So we have a plan to do some online industry forums, but as I say, open to ideas on how that looks and how we can make the most of those opportunities. We also have small pots of money for early career researchers to attend conferences. And then also some knowledge exchange visits. So that might be small pots of money to pay for travel and so on, for early career researchers to engage with industry partners. So there'll be more information about that coming out soon. We really are keen to publish as much as possible and get as many outputs as we can. We will launch our newsletter. Our website is just about to go live. We are really keen to help support grant proposals, and also, as I say, publish white papers, position papers, academic papers, editorials, wherever people are. One of the many different audiences that we've got, we're trying to reach them. So if you have ideas on how to do that, or if you'd like to get involved, we're more than happy to hear from you. So that brings us to the end of my kind of explanation of what we're trying to achieve. What we have here is a list of, there's 8 kind of initial discussion points. And what we will do is we can open the floor up now if anybody has any questions or any thoughts that they'd like to share at this point. But equally, we will send these round. So we will email each of you with this list of questions afterwards. And we are just looking for some initial ideas, some initial thoughts. If you've got some ideas that have got nothing to do with these 8 points, but you've got other ideas and other things you'd like to tell us about or get involved with, we're also more than happy to hear that as well and kind of take that on board. So I'll come back to those points in a second, but I also just wanted to highlight these various different ways that you can get in touch with us. So our email address is at the bottom, which is best@mmu.ac.uk. But equally, if you find my email or Joe or Dimitrios, you can always just reach out directly to us. If you are not yet part of the network and would like to, the QR code on the right can take you to that. It's a very quick registration form, and it would be really helpful and handy if you are interested in following what we're doing or just supporting what we do, to scan the QR code on the left, which takes you to our LinkedIn page, and give us a follow there. Okay, so I'll just leave this slide up. And I guess at this point, I would ask if anybody has any questions or anything they'd like to discuss or any further clarification on what we're trying to achieve.
Hi all, my name is Gertie van Keulen. I'm an associate professor in Swansea. I'm an microbial biochemist, developing together with materials engineers an antimicrobial coating that is currently targeted for healthcare sector. So that's the bit that from the initial members for the transport sector, I was kind of, so you've got Transport for London, but they don't actually make the trains as such. So is it also planned to involve the manufacturers of airplanes, of buses, of trains, of carriages, taxis, etc.?
Yes, absolutely. So we, as part of the steering group, have already started to identify some of those kind of manufacturers, the people who actually make these vehicles or whatever that might look like. And we've started reaching out to them. We've already got some kind of conversation with some of these organizations, but we are very aware that there's lots of them, and that transport is very broad, and so we want to capture as much of that as we possibly can. So if people have other contacts that you're aware of that might be interested, we'd be more than keen to get involved. One of the things that we will need to do is create a map or a pipeline almost of the journey of the kind of different points where an antimicrobial material needs to be thought about or considered, right from the very beginning of design, right the way through to implementation, and identify the different organizations and people that might need to be part of that conversation. So that's one of the activities for this first year, but absolutely we are keen to hear from those people and get them involved. We have,
it might be worth saying is on the call just now, we have a representative from Transport for London, who's part of the steering group, and also Northern Rail.
Yep, and I think the more the better, right? So I think it's one of those where we're really keen to kind of get as broad of a picture as possible of the challenges of these different sectors and understand what it means to be able to implement these types of interventions. And without that dialogue, it's really critical. Really, there are things that we can do to help, but we can only do that if we understand what that looks like. And these are, so for instance, if we know that we've got a couple of different train in sector members, then perhaps we can start kind of train specific industry forum. If we know that actually it's the manufacturers that we've got and not necessarily the different sectors of transport, then perhaps we can focus on that. So we're really open to reacting to the membership.
Something to also consider, I think, is patient transport vehicles.
Yeah, it's interesting. As in like ambulance and things.
Yes. So one of my colleagues in chemical engineering has worked on during the COVID times on using ozone devices to do a fast turnover of ambulances. But yeah, so just to, I'm functioning here as a beachhead, primarily to the chemical and materials engineers at Swansea University, just to make the network aware that they're very capable and also have got ample experience of going from lab scale to pilot scale to actually putting things on real world buildings in this case, and company buildings.
If you could make that introduction, Gertie, that'd be fantastic.
Yes. So there's the active buildings program that works on smart coatings for energy capture in the widest sense. And so the different stages of upscaling of materials and coatings is what they have outstanding expertise in. So I'm contributing my microbiology expertise to the development of an antimicrobial smart release coating in that sense.
And you raise an interesting point, which is that although the network is focused around transport, there's obviously a lot to be learned from development of these types of materials in other settings as well, because microbes are microbes, and so kind of doesn't matter if they're in a train or inside a hospital or inside someone's home. There may very well be learning that we can move across as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so happy to make those introductions. So we have got research institutes, and the one for the M2RA, so the Materials and Manufacturing Research Institute, is where the materials and chemical engineers are in, but we also have a healthcare technologies a research institute where both then come together. So I have forwarded the Best Network announcement to both of these research institutes, but I don't know how much of a take-up that has had.
Thank you.
And there's just a question in the chat from Alan from Nolex asking, what do we see as the #1 driver for change?
It's a really interesting question. And I guess that will depend on who you're talking to, whether or not that's an academic or someone in industry. For us, we're interested in all of that impact. So as the network, we need to demonstrate a broad set of impact, and that big part of that is kind of economic. It's policy. It's underpinning research. It's publications. It's all of those different things. But also for us, it's getting people out of the lab and into industry and supporting people earlier in their career as well. So they're also really big drivers for us. I think that's a question that maybe we can add to our our set of questions that we will send out to people after this meeting, because I think that's a really interesting one to capture. Any other thoughts from anybody?
Yes, so something that we've come across in the project that we're currently working on. So some antimicrobial materials are of a particular color, and if you were to put that in a coating, then the general public would be not appreciative of those changes to their environments. So any psychologists on the call or already in the network to start appreciating what it is that people accept in their environment?
I don't think, yeah, it's a very good point. I don't think we have anybody engaged so far.
No, but I think you're absolutely right, and it's a really important aspect. So design, I know there's always conversations around copper in hospitals. People don't really like it because of the colour. But I think the people in social sciences are going to be really important to us, either from an academic point of view, but equally, I think if industry has insight into that, they're the kind of things that would be really beneficial. Alison?
I was going to say, really, from my point of view, what can I offer to the network from my perspective? And I think everybody will be asking themselves that sort of question, anyone who tries to engage with. And my background was in the aerospace industry, but actually in engines rather than the vehicles or the passenger or the customer facing side of it. I'm mechanical engineer, really. So what sort of skill set would that be? I mean, if you're going to put appliances onto things, then how well do they stick and how long do they last? And how can you prevent people from peeling them off if they shouldn't be? And those sorts of questions. Those are the sorts of things that I could potentially offer, apart from networking with other people in other disciplines. So is there anything you want to target at me?
It's a good question. So I think that comes back to really our need to understand the challenges, right? So we really need to do some work that explains or understands what the problems are around antimicrobial materials and how we do that in all of those different aspects, whether that be engineering, whether that be social sciences, as Gertie was just talking about. And I think once we've kind of mapped that out, and then kind of alongside understanding the skills and the benefits that people bring to the network, I think that first meeting that we have, that first in-person meeting, really will be trying to connect all those dots and figure out how we can utilize the network to the benefit of the aims at that point. So it's a bit of a chicken and egg type scenario, right? Which is that we know we've got people who are really interested and active, and we know we've got people with lots of challenges and would like to see benefits of that. But it's always really difficult, and I think because it's interdisciplinary and because it's more than just it's not just a lab experiment that you need to figure out. It's like a whole big thing. Just understanding that challenge is really, really hard. And I see that in other kind of parts of my work is that anytime you're working across academia and industry and policymakers, it's always a little bit tricky. So I think that's a question that we will continually endeavour to try and answer.
The trouble is if you don't answer it really carefully and precisely now, then people will come to the table and then say, there's nothing there for me to do, and walk away again. And if you don't want to lose people, you've got to be quite specific about what it is you want them to do so you don't lose them.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. So that will be something we can work on ASAP. Patricia, perhaps?
Hi, yeah, I'm Patricia. I work at Gencoa, and we do PVD sputtering mainly, so coating development. We sell the cathodes for PVD and magnetron sputtering. But I have been mainly involved in antimicrobial coating development for the last 4 or 5 years. And we've had a lot of projects working both within the transport industry and also hospitals and primary care settings. So just like Gertie was saying, the aesthetic of it is what we found has been a massive restriction as such. We put some door handles into the Royal Hospital in Liverpool, but obviously a coated substrate, especially on metallic substrates, did have some sort of colour, and we noticed that they weren't being used. People were actually avoiding touching the push pad to open the door, so they'll touch the like microbe infested door rather than the antimicrobial handle. So that is something we can that we're trying to overcome, obviously the aesthetic views. But we can also do transparent coatings for touchscreens, either plastic like polymer removals or actually coating the glass itself. So I just wanted to know 2 things actually. Is like the transport space, such as like the rail stations and airports, also a factor that we're considering in terms of coating environments, or just the physical, like the buses and the trains themselves?
Yes. So where the proposal that we put in was the journey that somebody would make in a transport scenario. So not necessarily just the vehicle. So if you're, getting the bus to the train station to then get the train to the airport, kind of where you're going along those routes, how you're spreading those potential pathogens around, all that type of stuff. So yeah, those elements of the built environment are also in the purview of the network.
And then you spoke about possible projects, so we're keeping an eye out for calls through funded projects, I suppose. Would it be like Innovate UK, things like that we'll keep an eye on, and possibly get a consortium through this network, I guess, together. But outside of that actual funded work, because working in the R&D department, we're always just developing it, whether it's funded work or not, or ourselves. So I'm continuing to work on antimicrobial coatings. We have some like rough kind of in-house testing that we can do. It's obviously not standard antimicrobial or antiviral testing. So I'd be interested to know if there are people within the network with testing facilities that if we do come up with certain coatings, maybe that the aesthetics a little bit better, but it's outside of like a funded project, would there be testing, like would there be connections we can make for testing capabilities through this network?
Yep. And we've collected as part of the network registration form details of anybody's, if anyone's got any facilities that they're happy to share. So that's something that we've got a note of, so we can bring that back to the table when it's relevant. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we had something, we would come to yourselves and then you'd say first. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We are planning, Patricia, also to put all this information on the website, because we're making a website for the best network. Also others from outside the network, if you would like to collaborate and find these facilities, will be able to find it from the network members also at the same time.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah,
and we can come together, because ourselves also are based in the School of Pharmacy and Medicine in Queen's University Belfast, so we do a lot with the hospitals also. So it would be nice to know how many we can come together, either for grants or for other things, and similar also research areas that would like to work.
Yeah, that'd be really good. Yeah, thank you.
No problem. That is it. I think it's exactly those kinds of things that we're here to try and support. So it's good to hear. Anybody else got anything they'd like to ask or ideas? Andrew?
Hi, yeah. Just like to add, I work for Northern Trade, so trade operator. We're very kind of happy to be involved with this in terms of looking at ways of actually delivering these products or methods into the environments where it really kind of happens or needs to work. So yeah, happy to share experiences from what our team's doing. We've had various interactions with different antimicrobial materials over the past years, both in terms of trend design, but also routine cleaning. So yeah, I hope we can bring some practical knowledge to this as well.
Fantastic, thank you. I think one thing that I'm thinking already is perhaps a kind of a bit of a workshop for our industry colleagues on the challenges. I think would be really interesting, and we can hear from people like Andrew and Patricia and so on around kind of what the problems are and how we make it reality. Would be a really interesting place to begin. Anything else from anybody? David?
Good afternoon all. My name's David Flint. I'm the lead in materials for Transport for London. Actually, I've been involved with BEST before it was BEST, because I was responsible for devising TfL's response to COVID before it became a big thing, which is, as you imagine, it was sort of thrown in at the deep end. And same as Northern Rail, we're very interested in this from the sharp end in terms of what's available. And it's no secret that TfL's response was using this type of material. What it was is that we looked at what was available on the market, and most importantly was safe. That's the big difference. I think someone mentioned about people's adverse reactions to colour. We can't just go ahead and put onto a public network the best thing that works, apart from obviously the fact that there's monetary considerations. There is a simple fact that everything we put on is going to be exposed to a massive number of people. So, and a number of those people will be allergic or sensitive. So we need to keep abreast of what's happening. And to be honest, I was very surprised at how successful the regime that we put in place was. We're quite pleased to say that we never detected COVID live on our network. This is the underground, not the buses, the trams, etc. Because we actually checked, did random checking every month, where we went on the trains and checked the stations and took live cultures and air samples. So the stuff worked. The problem is, of course, you can never prove a negative, because the fact we didn't detect it didn't mean it was actually there. And we were very lucky. COVID-19 is a relatively easy virus to denature. So although it was quite horrific what it did to people, it was actually quite an easy virus to treat. So that's why we're interested and why we're going to stay involved, because we did find some use from the people on this, some of the people on this call, and not just in terms. I know we're talking about the surface treatment, but also in terms of controlling airflow and means of control, other means of control. That because there's no one quick solution for everything. So that's why we're involved in this. Okay.
Thank you. I think I also, as you talk, I also think about things like impact on cleaning regimes and other ways that we keep these space hygienic. And if you implement an antimicrobial material, what impact might that have on other behaviors and other things that are happening in a space as well? So there's lots. It is it's a big area to be thinking about. But as David, I think, quite clearly points out, very beneficial if you get it right. Any more from anybody? Okay, well, I think we can call it a day, perhaps. You all now will have our email. We'll follow up with each of you individually after this anyway, and just ask for any more input or ideas that you might have. And we will share again these different initial discussion points. And they really are just to get some ideas flowing. So don't feel like you have to provide a detailed answer to each of them. It really is just to kind of start the conversation. So what we'd really like to hear from is people who are really keen to be involved, have problems and or ideas and solutions. And although they might not be fully formed, and you might not really be 100% certain what you want to try and achieve, if you're keen and interested, we're keen and interested to hear from you and have you as part of the network. Okay, so we can stop sharing and stop recording, and hopefully we can see you all in the near future.